My situation or decrease it, be free or left to die.
My name is Jennifer Gibbons, and I've got a twin sister called Jennifer, and we're known as silent twins.
Two sisters, born minutes apart, raised side by side, and yet sealed inside a private universe no outsider could penetrate. From the time they were small, June and Jennifer Gibbons spoke in whispers that twisted and curled into a language only they understood. A language so fluid and fast that even a tape recorder struggled to catch it. To parents and teachers, it sounded like gibberish, but to the girls it was everything: comfort, power, and escape. For more than a decade, they shut the entire world out. Classmates saw only two silent figures moving through the hallways like mirror images. Heads bent, steps in perfect unison. Teachers unnerved by their unblinking stares and long stretches of muteness called them ghosts in the classroom. Psychiatrists described them as catatonic, trapped behind an invisible wall. But isolation can wrap and secrecy can grow heavy. Beneath the quiet facade, the twins' imagination churned with dark fantasies and desperate pacts. They wrote stories, plotted future, and made a promise that terrified those who eventually learned it. When the press discovered them, a new name was stamped on their mystery: the Silent Twins. It sounded like a headline, but the truth inside was far stranger and far more unsettling. This is the real story of June and Jennifer Gibbons, a story of obsession, confinement, and a chilly agreement that would lead to freedom for one and tragedy for the other. What bound the sisters so tightly? What force was strong enough to serve that bond? And what did it cost when silence finally broke? June and Jennifer Gibbons were born in Barbados in 1963. The sun of the Caribbean still on their skin when their parents brought them to Britain. The family settled far from palm trees and warm winds in the grey council estates of Haverfordwest, Wales, a cluster of cold brick buildings crouched under a low overcast sky. Inside the local school, they stood out instantly. The twins were the only black children in the classroom, their dark braids and quiet eyes drawing stares from teachers and taunts from classmates. The playground became a gauntlet of whispers, insults, and hands that shoved too hard. Each slide pushed them further inward, deeper into the refuge only they could build. By the time June and Jennifer were 7, they had stopped speaking to the other children altogether. At 10, even the teacher's question fell into a void of silence. They moved through the corridors like shadows, heads bent, body in eerie synchrony, as if their footsteps were rehearsed. But when night came and their bedroom door was locked, a transformation unfolded. Voices poured out in a rush, a rapid, musical language no outside could decipher, a code invented and perfected between them over the years of secrecy. It was more than words. It was a fortress, a spell, a world where only two people existed. What began as a retreat from cruelty was becoming something far stranger. Behind those closed doors, the twins were building a reality of their own. And soon, the rules of the hidden world would start to seep into the real one. Authorities began to worry about the twins and what they were becoming. Social workers tried separating them, hoping distance would loosen the bond. For a time, though, June was sent to one facility and Jennifer to another. but instead of softening, their behavior grew even stranger. Each girl became a phantom in her new setting, silent, rigid, watchful. When they were reunited, the effect was more disturbing. They moved towards corridors as though tethered by invisible wires, each footstep landing at the same instant, each gesture mirrored like a reflection into a cracked mirror. They could go for days without eating, their bodies locked in an unspoken contest of endurance. In notebooks, they poured out stories not meant for anyone else to read, sprawling, fevered fantasies of doomed lovers, bloody murders, and miraculous resurrections. The dolls became actors in miniature crime sagas, tiny witnesses of tales of betrayal and revenge. It was as though the twins' imagination had become a second darker and running parallel of their own. One psychiatrist, unnerved after a session with them, crawled a single line into his note. It was as if one twin cannot breathe without the other, and yet they despise each other. The paradox, total dependence bound to rising hostility, was growing like a pressure chamber around the girls, and somewhere inside, a decision was forming, a pact that would force the outside world to pay attention. By their late teens, the darkness of June and Jennifer's inside world began to spill into the streets. Petty shoplifting became a compulsion. Fires were set for thrills, then for reasons even they couldn't explain. By 1981, the sisters had crossed the line the authorities could no longer ignore. A judge sentenced them to an indefinite stay at the Broadmoor Hospital, Britain's most infamous, high-security psychiatric institution. These were the same walls that held murderers, bombers, and some of the country's most feared criminal minds. Behind Broadmoor's locked doors, their isolation became almost total. The clang of iron gates and the echo of footsteps in long corridors only deepened their silence. Staff who encountered the girls described them moving like shadows along the wall, gliding in perfect steps, even eyes fixed on each other's as though no one else existed. When they did speak, it was in murmurs, so low and strange that even hardened nurses felt their hair on their arms lift. Their diaries from this period reveal how far the twins' private mythology had gone. In jagged handwriting, Jennifer recorded a chilling decision. "We have decided she has to die." In her own journal, June echoed it. "We have made plans." What those plans meant and how they would end was unclear to everyone but the sisters themselves. Somewhere within Broadmoor's heavy walls, a pact had been sealed, and when it was finally fulfilled, it would leave one twin alive, the other dead, and the world still wondering what truly happened between them. After more than a decade behind Broadmoor's steel doors, psychiatrists and officials decided that the twins were finally stable enough to transfer. They arranged for the sisters to move to a lower security clinic, a step forward towards freedom that had taken nearly half their lives to reach. On the morning of March 9, 1993, as staff prepared them for the journey, Jennifer turned to her sister with a whisper that chilled everyone who later heard it. "I'm going to die, you've decided." There was no drama in her voice, only certainty. Hours later, on the bus carrying them to their new facility, Jennifer slumped forward, her eyes rolled back. By the time the vehicle reached its destination, she was gone. The official cause was listed as sudden inflammation of the heart, but no drugs were found, no trauma, no infection, no clear medical explanation. She was just 29 years old. Locals whisper that June still comes to the grave at night, sits by the cold stone, and murmurs under her breath, as though speaking not to the earth, but to someone who might still be listening. Based on true events, June Gibbons is still alive today. Come back again at this nocturnal hour to witness another horrifying tale.